Okay.
Let me see now. Where are we at?
Let's try open this window button.
Do what you got to do. We are just setting up the tech. And we are going to be kicking off in just a few moments. Oh, sure. What did I do there? And here we go. We're just setting it up. And we're going to play a little song as we set up. Eve's beautiful daughter, Angel White. Can you hear that, girls?
Yep, I can hear it.
Anymore. I could. Oh, yeah. By the stars align, what I see,
Okay. So just ground yourselves into this moment. Get yourselves ready for a beautiful, well, necessary and needed panel. And let this music just give you life. So would you mind if I took over? Would you mind if I came over? 'Cause all I wanna do is be with you. But I don't wanna cry like a fool. 'Cause I can tell the way you feel. Don't say what's real. Don't want you, moving your neck from side to side, hips. Welcoming the babies. The reason we do what we do.
Hey, Bubba.
But I don't wanna cry like a fool. So would you mind if I took over? Would you mind if I came over? Beautiful song there by the wonderful Eve White's daughter, who is here with us. Eve White is here. Eve E. White, sorry, is here to share on this beautiful panel. Eve is one of the co-authors of Rebel Ma Rising in the Time of the Feminine, Women's Stories of Reclamation, which was the first iteration of our Rebel Ma trilogy. And a dear friend of mine who I have known since my Sydney days, since my awakening days, when I woke up to the truth of, I guess, what it means to live as a settler in a colonized nation, you know. And she really helped me to awaken to the beauty and the culture and the mythology and the reverence in, country there in Australia. And I have a lot to thank you for, Eve. I'm very, very grateful for, the work that you do in the world and what you stand for and the beautiful gifts that you offer us all, by sharing your culture and being so rooted in bringing it back and in reclaiming the living memory of your sacred ancestry. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know it wasn't easy to find your way here because life happens and all sorts of things happen. But Eve is a proud Wiradjuri woman, a cultural trauma-informed integrative health coach and a mother and a dancer and a yogi and so much more. And she will be talking today and speaking into integrity with offerings and how to hold cultural integrity and keep people safe in the spaces that we create, because healing, it's become quite an industry. And I know that there is a lot of things happening that I guess can show us that there's red flags, like alongside the growth in the healing industries and the ceremonies and the activations on the sacred sites. There's also a lot of harm and appropriation and unprocessed trauma and a lack of accountability. So today we're talking here about holding the line, a necessary conversation really about cultural safety and trauma-aware leadership in spiritual spaces. And I'm really excited to have a chat with her about that, and also with Abby, who also was on the session only on Monday, giving us a real insight into her ROAR method. And she is an embodiment mentor and a beautiful mother, and she's rooted in personal healing. She's moved through a lot of private work, and she's created her own ROAR approach to healing trauma, and she really helps people to reconnect with their bodies and reclaim their voices and live with authenticity. So today it's going to be a really deep conversation, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes and see how it goes. But maybe, Eve, if you would drop us in with a little bit of a landing and, honor the ancestors. I'm here in Bali in Indonesia. And I always love to honor the ancestors of this land and, of course, of my own Celtic, heritage. And you there in Australia can welcome us and, invoke the ancestors there too.
Thanks, Saoirse. Good to see you. Good to be here with you both. So yeah, just feel into where you are in this beautiful big planet that we share, and just take a moment to just ground and anchor into that. Just even close down your eyes and just take a beautiful big breath of that fresh oxygen into your body. And as you exhale, just letting go of anything, any stories that you might be holding that may not serve you. And then just welcome in your well ancestors, all your ancestors that are well, that perhaps even shining down on you through the stars in the sky. And as you do that, anchor down through your feet, connect down to Mother Earth and the wisdom that she provides us and shares with us, and perhaps let her speak to you so that you can speak for her. And she may have those whispers, those little nuggets of knowledge. And I'm here in Bunjalung country. I've just moved to this area that I know has had some interesting past times happen here. So maybe I'm here to help bring a little more healing, a little more of that heart energy. Just connect in with your heart. It's called Galgan in Bunjalung language, but in my language, Wiradjuri, I'm so in Bunjalung Nation right now that I've even forgotten what it's called in my own language. But within that, your heart radiates around you. they say up to 8 meters, but I think even further. So sending out energy from your heart all the way out and around, even in that little area that you're in. As you do that, just bring the tongue onto the roof of your mouth to help seal the circuit of energy, the feminine and the masculine, those both two energies that are within us all that are needed, both the feminine and the masculine on this planet right now are needed. Take another big breath in. Mugable is heart in Wurundjeri. Exhale. And then just take yourself back, open your eyes, maybe licking your lips. I've just come back from being on country with a group, Kids Caring for Country, that every Wednesday, I cook for the group, and I cook like bush inspired food for the group. And we have taken group from the community center where we're not really allowed to make fire and do what we need to do. And we've taken it out onto country. So each week we go somewhere different. And this evening or this afternoon, we're at Cabarita Beach, which is so beautiful. It's like this beautiful beach that has this volcano rock, and it's like a little mini festival. So we have like half an hour where we just like hang out, go for a swim, connect in with each other, and then we go on the silence, and two of the young girls paint us up with ochre, which is like clay, and share words that they have been shared by the elder, of like connection, intuition, and then we stand up in a line from youngest to oldest. And so we all find out how old we all are. And I'm like, keep going further back in the line. I'm like, what? And then Uncle lights a fire with two sticks, and we all take part in rubbing the stick to make the fire from scratch. And then he comes around with one of the young boys he's blind, Angelo, and he's just got so much wisdom. And he comes around and he goes, speaks these words of wisdom, kind to your mother. And we get smoked by the different leaves that Uncle Mujai brings. And then we walk around and sit in circle, and we share our gratitudes, clap the clap sticks, share what we're grateful for, and clap the clap sticks. And we say Wajungle, which is through the mother, as we all are on Mother Earth, and we all have come through the mother. And everyone says that and acknowledges the person before them. And then the Auntie Robin will share affirmations, and make us repeat them after her. And she's a soul singer, so sometimes she like sings out the affirmations, and we all like sing it out. And then we created a song, keeping the fire burning as we sing the song. And then we have a beautiful dancer, Wanaga from Bangara Dance Company, who leads us through like a half an hour, 40 minutes of like follow the leader kind of dance. And we work with one of the sacred, universal indigenous laws. And so we're respect, love. What was last week? Humility. This week was honesty. And so he'll kind of like weave that into the dance. And then we do our cultural dances. And then we eat. And then we do language. So then another guy comes and he does, like, we learn Bunjalung language with him. It's like a mini festival. And it's just so nourishing and so grounding and so real and authentic. And so I feel like I take that everywhere I go with me. And I'm so grateful for this little group, this little, Kids Caring for Country group that does such amazing work for the community.
That is just so beautiful. Just how like
Yeah,
coming together in community is resistance at the end of the day, you know,
yeah.
and it's like such a reclamation of your language, of your traditions, of just like gentleness in a world that's so violent against you as well, you know, the First Nations
Mm,
people of Australia. It sounds so wholesome and so so beautiful to be a part of and to witness the children as well, like really owning their culture, because I know
yeah,
in
yeah.
Australia it was tried to be, you know, assimilated or taken from them. Like in Ireland too, our culture and our traditions and our language and our lore was stolen from us, you know.
Mm.
Um, and just speaking even one or two words in Irish, we'd say cúpla focal. But even just speaking a couple of words like that
What's
is
that?
just like
Kupla, what is it? Kupla fluckle.
cúpla focal is a couple of
Fuckle.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means a couple of words.
Yeah.
No. Ah, a couple of words. Kupla fluckle. Fuckle.
Cúpla focal. Yeah. Cúpla
Oh,
focal.
wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
so important. It's so important. And it's all like I feel like it's that simplicity,
mhm.
of just coming back to our ancestral roots from wherever we're from, or maybe, connecting in with the ancestral roots of where you are, like of the land that you're on and what they did there, and to kind of bring that back, bring that simplicity, um, is really important right now when I think so many things are being, like what I guess with our topic that we talking about this evening about facilitating and, um, not necessarily connecting in with the original roots of it, taking it, and with that can be that unsafety that comes with that. But when we can, yes, move forward into new ways, but also like keep connecting in with the old ways as
Mm,
a way to ground and anchor us in these crazy times that we're living in right now, with all of these, interesting truths of the world that are being seen and really heard, that we haven't, I don't think, allowed ourselves to see and really hear that which has been happening, and that which our tax money is aiding and abetting. And, like, oh, okay, so if I buy, from that organization, I'm actually funding, you know,
mhm.
trafficking, or I'm funding war by paying my tax, even taking us on a whole nother trajectory here, aren't I?
I know, but it needs to be spoken into too, you know. It's just like all the illusions are falling away. And I know that, you know,
Mm,
being very aware of what is really happening in the world for a long time. You were probably one of the first people to introduce me to a lot of concepts that I'd never even heard of in the world that are all proven themselves to be true. But we could go in many different
mm,
directions tonight. And what we will stay with, I guess, is, you know, the theme of this summit is matriarchy now, right? And it's about getting back to our roots, because in the beginning it was the mothers, and everybody spoke the language of repair. Everybody cared. It was like children and life and mothers at the center. And I know First Nations women are matriarchs, you know, they really are, like all of Indigenous women. In indigenous societies prior to colonization, women were the protectors, the nurturers, and the truth tellers, you know, and that's the kind of flame that you are keeping lit. And I know that your ancestors are so proud of you to, you know, continue to be a
mm,
torchbearer. And I saw a quote the other day that said something, for Indigenous Australian women, Mother Earth country, it's not just a concept, but it's a living maternal entity and foundational source of life, you know, which makes sense. And it's a source of identity, and it's a source of law, because all of your laws are rooted in the natural world, aren't they? And deeply intertwined, women act as custodians of the land, engaging in specific women's business to care for country, which is revered as a nurturing mother, a teacher, and the
mm.
ultimate authority. Isn't it? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. And I guess, like, um, with that, I have always been drawn to things, with women, and, um, just recently how I met Abby is at a women's festival that we went to, and I was really excited about going and just spending the weekend, doing all different workshops and without having my kids or my husband. It was just for me to go and explore, and so I was really shocked when I found myself in certain workshops that just didn't feel safe, authentic, real, and were created and offered to, there was a whole range of different ages that are quite susceptible to things, especially, when you're young. And so for me, it was just big, there was many red flags that came up for me, and it made me really think about like just the safety, and I actually didn't really feel like I could go to many of the workshops because I wasn't, I didn't know what I was gonna what would happen, and it was also on a sacred women's songline, and later learning that there had been some really intense things happened on that land. So yeah, I just think it's something that, these days you can just be, a breathwork practitioner, after doing, a certain amount of, well, I mean, you could be a practitioner and then create your own thing and then train other people in it. And I'm just curious as to where we're having the safety in this and what kind of screening is really happening. Because I know as a yoga teacher, and a qigong teacher and all of the other things that I've done, it's very easy to get your insurance, that covers you for this. But like, really, where is this screening happening? And there's a lot of trauma informed everything. And what does that really mean, and how does that really look? And we don't know who's going to be in our spaces. We don't know what someone's been through before when we're offering, these things. So it's just about, yeah, being really like accountable for that, um and then going to these festivals. Another thing that kind of came up for me was, um as an indigenous woman of this land, I'm often asked to do things and like welcomes, which I would never do because I'm not an elder and I don't live on the land that my lineage is from. Um, but having experienced the welcome at this festival, and there being, dancers there, very young dancers, like children that were performing, and there was naked women in the audience. And so mob are getting asked to go left, right, and center, but it's like, how safe are they going into these spaces? So that's when I met Abby, and she kind of really brought to my attention unsafe things that were happening just because of her experiences that she's had, that's kind of made her see things that I couldn't necessarily see. Because in our society, it's a very push that men are the ones that are unsafe for us majority of the time. And it's not always the case. So, women also can equally be as unsafe as men. I don't know if you wanted to speak to anything, Abby.
Yes, my daughter is right under my leg throwing things
Oh,
at me, so I will do my
is
best I
she?
can. Um,
It's all good.
I think we were talking about this briefly before we actually jumped on around the space of living in the real world and being a spiritual person and being living in the spiritual world. And those are two completely different things. And I think at one point in time on the Sunshine Coast, when I was teaching, I was very much teaching from a spiritual space, which is, and I'm saying was extremely dangerous because I was going from a place of bypassing and fluff, and I wasn't grounded. And it wasn't actually until I met my partner, who is a miner and like a Kiwi man, that like addressed this to me because I was so lost. I had lost myself. And he was such a big part of me coming back to myself. And I didn't even realize it. And I think that's the big thing as well. Like, I don't think people are realizing it. I don't think they realize that they're kind of aloof in the space because it's such, we yearn community, we yearn connection. So I was vulnerable, I was yearning that. But then when I got out of it and came back to earth, but was still me, still a spiritual person, I started to see a whole bunch of things from a different lens. That's why people say when they leave cults or spiritual practices, they're like, I would have never seen that until I left it. And that's what that festival was like for me. And then to be kind of gaslit, like, oh, girl, your trauma's just coming up. And I'm like, oh, no, honey, that's done. We've healed that. This is actually me looking at it from a human lens, not a fluff lens, not a woo-woo lens. And I think this is where stuff can get real dangerous in the way, because now everybody can get a certificate to whatever. And I think that can be, especially if you haven't a lived experience. So many people are like, what are your qualifications, Abby? Like, and I'm like, I lived this stuff. I'm not someone that's going to talk to you about stuff that I don't know. Like, I know what I'm teaching you. You know, I'm not someone that just got online one weekend, did a certification, and is teaching breath work and not knowing the effects of the body, what comes from the body with that. And I think we just need to be more aware of that energy and what we're bringing to people because it's dangerous. I'm just going to use it. It is dangerous.
Yeah, totally. And you know, I just know that some other festivals I've been at, there's that, you know, the stage that the DJ has, but the podium that the yoga teacher has, you know, where they're put on a pedestal, and it's like it's so much in our realm right now that we're seeing that pedestal that we've put our Hollywood elite whatever on. It's starting, there's like no floor, there's no, you know, the floor's moving away and it's falling. But what are we doing? What are we doing to not keep reliving that? Like, because we've been running in this program for so long that we put, you know, on the pedestal and we, you know, worship that. Yeah. So it's like what I do in my spaces is we put people in circle, you know, when we teach in that way so that no one is in front or behind. We're all equal. And so then our jajams, our children have space to move in front of us, and our ancestors can give us a cosmic hug. You know, it's not about being, you know, and I learn as much as whoever's coming learns. Like we all learn together. You know, we can, and so I see, you know, that happening, and then, you know, the that spiritual bypass amnesia, I think is what you were calling it, Abby. And you know, we're opening people up
Spiritual
sometimes.
amnesia.
Amnesia, yeah.
Yeah.
In this space, right? We're opening people up and opening up, you know, like their chakras, their gates, their, you know, and what I experienced in a class was so many crazy stuff flying around, and there was, you know, not safety there. And so what is it? Fitness hygiene. like spiritual hygiene, is a very important practice to have for us that are facilitating, like to be able to, keep to cleanse yourself before you come and hold space for others, and then also to cleanse yourself after you've held space, because things can get, attached onto us. Just even looking at the screen and looking at all the things going on, every time you look at something, you're taking on that story, you're taking that, if you see someone's hand get chopped off, it's like you feel that happening, like you. So we have to be really mindful of where we choose to place our tendril of attention.
Absolutely. And is that kind of like the smoking that you do at the beginning of ceremony, like cleansing the energy and,
Mhm.
breaking yourself off? I'd love to know, as a trauma informed facilitator who's been in this game for decades, like what makes a space truly trauma informed beyond using maybe the language of safety? How would you create a safe space in these places and ensure that everybody is protected in that sense?
So I guess with what I shared, in the circle where we go around and share, um, depending on what it is that you're offering, it could be a pre something that you do where before people come, you learn about like that organization, you get together with whoever it is that you're coming in this kind of way. But definitely opening up a circle, and of course it depends on how much time you have, but always just being mindful that you could have anyone in that space. I mean, I've been pulled up for calling people guys, hey guys. Or so it's like there's so many ways in which you can trigger someone, and there's also knowing that you're not going to necessarily make every single person happy, but you can always just try your hardest and just be really mindful. And within that, being able to feel like read the field. It's something that we speak to in We Are the Trauma Informed Cultural Facilitating, where you read the field, like you feel the energy frequencies of everyone that's there. And you can, because you don't know what's just happened to them that morning, or what's happened to them the day before or throughout their whole life. We don't, you always have to be like, okay, anyone can be here, and we have to be really mindful what we say and how we say it. And then with the somatic practices, like of just bringing everyone's breath into unison, grounding them to the earth, keeping it simple, keeping it like, connecting with what it is that you're doing, rather than taking what you might have heard someone say that sounds cool and bringing it in because, it seems cool, just keeping it simple and to the point of what it is that you're doing. And then also sharing what it is that you're doing. So it's not like, giving people that opportunity to not participate if they don't want to participate, stay in Shavasana.
I remember someone that like was in a class of mine where I openly share what happened to me as a teacher. I don't hide that because I find it to be quite relatable. And she was like, you shouldn't share your trauma. Like, that's a lot, people. And I'm like, I think what is a lot for people is coming in with ego, thinking that you're better than everybody, and they can't relate to you because you put yourself on that pedestal. Like, I think that's as big of a problem than being able to be honest about it. Like, I'm honest about it. And also in that trauma informed space, I don't work with people in my deeper containers that I know isn't ready for it. And I believe there are people in spiritual communities, because it's become around money a lot as well, that there's this energy of the money is more important than the mental health of the human being that is coming into the space. Like, I will not work with people one-on-one if they don't have other Like if they're not working with a therapist or they haven't worked with a therapist, like you have to care about the people you're working with. And I think there's the lack of care and a
Mm-hmm.
need for money. And I'm just being real about that. Like, I know I can make money off of people's vulnerabilities, so I'm going to ride on that. And that's where stuff gets really sticky because
Yeah.
then it's just people doing whatever and receiving a whole bunch of money and not even knowing what they're actually doing and the
Mm-hmm.
impact that they're having on the people they're working with.
So true. It's so true. And I guess
That's what
that's
I'm, yeah.
embodied experience that you have, that, you're sharing from that space and often, and especially in Australia, it's this wrapping in cotton wool. Like as I'm
Mhm.
saying, be mindful of what you're saying, no, you need, there's like that truth telling that comes and
Yeah.
and
And
sharing that lived
mindfulness still.
story. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I think that mindfulness is still so important. Like I'm super, super
Mm,
aware. I'm not someone that just goes off, but I do believe, like, I wish that therapists were trained in a way where they could be more human. Because I think more people would go to therapy if they felt that their therapist would be a human being and not just try to give them stuff to do. That's why
mhm.
so many people don't want to go to therapy because they can't relate.
And
People
doing
come
the
to me because they can relate, you know?
and doing the work is not easy.
Oh no,
It's not
not the
easy.
real
And
work,
yeah,
not the
and
surface work, you
yeah,
know?
and just, in conversations when you're being, I've seen it with you actually, when, you share your story and you're being true and authentic in that, but it pulls out a story that someone didn't know that they had that was hidden there inside, and well, why did you come and sit
Yeah.
right here with me? Because you could sense that I was going to pull that story out of you. And that's a brave thing to
Mm,
do, to come and sit next to that person that's going to, be so raw
mm.
and
Mm.
honest and, fully truth tell. Um, and I think that's like, I had to leave Sydney because I felt like I was going to be really dangerous for people to be around because I was like, so
Mm.
thought people were ready for the truth then. And now I see it on the news and I'm like, okay.
Mm.
But it's important. It's important to have like those hard conversations because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to have those hard conversations with yourself. Those things that
Yeah.
you packed away, and placed so deep inside, they're gonna surface. So I guess it's how do we care for people and how if we choose to like be in this way, how can we then care for them? And I always see it like, like a yoga class where, you know, you go through all these different places in the yoga practice, but then you have to safely lay down and like, digest all of that you've done. Like it's about safely being really safe with someone and being, if you're going to take them to that, then being really, caring for them through that journey.
Yeah. I think also people need to take responsibility for their own healing
Yeah.
because I think they put so much energy on this person's going to save me. And that's where it also gets dangerous when you're depending on people that have never even experienced the things that they're teaching you.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we went to this festival, there was a workshop of someone speaking about childbirth that didn't even have a child, that had never even been in a birthing room.
And it was
And you're
erotic.
speaking to
It was
women, erotic
erotic
childbirth,
childbirth. We
Wow.
were
and
like,
you've
what?
never even had a baby. Like you got to be careful because people are, if they see themselves in you, they're gonna want to learn from you. But if you don't even know what you're talking about, then 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 that is dangerous. And then someone could go into that space and be like, I could do that. I
Mm.
could speak on that too. And then it's just a cycle. And that's not good, you know?
Yeah, and I guess coming back to that festival and it was very much like, we are safe because we are women. We are safe because there's no men here. We don't judge because there's no, and it was like almost the opposite to that in a sense. I was like, I can't wait to go and see my husband and be next to his immune system that really is going to calm and ground me in that frequency of his deep voice, and you know, and
And
I
women shared that they didn't feel that too. They said that they didn't feel safe amongst other women there. They shared that during one of my workshops.
mm,
Like they
mm,
actually were quite insecure and felt themselves comparing themselves to other women. And that was never addressed. You know
mm.
what I mean? And yeah, that alone too was
and
the fact that there was an energy of everyone felt safe and they really didn't.
and so
They
it is
didn't.
this line of like, the matriarchal and coming back to that and
Mm.
power to the woman and all of that. But then there's also that other side of it where it's like, well, actually, we need the man as well. We need that divine masculine, and both of these in balance as a Libran rising is what I'm always looking for in myself, and what I do. I need to be balanced, and
Oh,
being able to,
absolutely.
huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, matriarchy isn't about like women's domination. It's not about women over men in any way, shape, or form. And
Mm,
like we're seeing a lot of patriarchal women who are completely programmed and are upholding the patriarchy, and they are not our people. What we need to do and get to do is educate them about what matriarchal values actually are, because it's a completely different system. It's a completely different blueprint. And it's not power
mm,
through domination, because that is a patriarchal notion. At best, matriarchy is collectivist and it's communal, and it's refusing oppressive hierarchy in any way, shape, or form. It
mm,
prioritizes nurturing, stewardship, and reciprocal relationships that serve the community. And it's about repair and speaking the
mm,
language of repair and being open to conversations where, yeah, we're having the hard conversations and we grow from them and we know from them. But matriarchy is about the community working together. Um,
mm,
and everyone having a role and a part to play and caring for each other. And yeah, there's many spaces where you don't actually feel that right now, and that's where the work is, and that's where it's really important for you girls to be able to raise those concerns with whoever it was running that festival. And maybe it wasn't received in the way that you would like, but that's what we get to kind of talk about today.
mm.
What would a mature healing industry look and feel like? We need to start envisioning what we want it to be like in order to be able to create these safe spaces for
Yeah,
others to
and
be able.
we did, like, both of us, I myself had a conversation with the organizers there and told them exactly how I felt. And it was so shocking to me that Abby said that I was the first person in the 10 years that she's been in Australia that has ever followed through with something like that. That's like stood by her, and not even, I don't even need to stand up for you because you can do that. But like, just stood by and like followed through with that in action. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, we both have been really passionate
I think
about.
people are so afraid. And that
Mm,
scares me that like there would have been women in that space that felt so unsafe that just held it within themselves and didn't say a thing. And that actually I think that empowerment is what we need to bring to women. And that's ancestral, our voices, right? Like not being able to
yeah,
share how we feel and
yeah,
like the deepness of that when we don't feel safe, and to feel that support from you, like that changed my life at that festival. To be like, you know what? Like that's an ally for real. That's not
mm,
just someone that's just like, yeah, girl, I hear you. No, that is someone that I said something and in action was like, I got you. That is
mm,
sisterhood. That's that real shit. That's not that, okay, we're here, kumbaya. You know, that's that realness when we move as women in action to make to do something. And listen, no disrespect. I do believe they're doing the best they can, but they need to do better. And there's a lot of spaces that need to do better. And it's not, and I think when intention changes, that's when people change. And if there's anything we've learned amongst women, is that we need to be really clear about what we're doing. Because if we waver in a different direction, people will follow us. And if that direction is dark, if that direction is not intended to really hold what is needed, then the latter, the women that have a clear lens, are going to stand up, you know? And it makes me remember my Angelou quote, when one woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you did for me. You know what I mean? I stood up and told you my story, and you were like, I got you, you know, and that is sisterhood. That's what we're here for, you know?
Yeah, and you know, even though we had this interesting experience at, you know, this festival in kind of the opposite way that we were expecting, we had this other experience that, you know, brought this about. So and like we're all learning, right? And I think that the organizers' hearts are really in the right place. But I think that the energetics of that land also drew in these energetics that we really saw, and that's where we have to be really careful of where we do the work, because that land needs almost grid workers or people of that land going there and being in ceremony. I don't think others should go to a land that has that you know, that energy on it. What's it called? That loosh energy on it. I think it needs to be really cleared, and that's a big safety thing. And so what happens is that, like you were saying, it all comes down to money. Everyone's after the money, you know, and like that happens in our land councils. You know, it happens in all spaces and everywhere. And so it's about yeah, more transparency and more openness and more honesty and more truth telling, and more of this kind of thing needs to come about before you open up a space to 650 women, and open up, you know, 80 workshops. That what becoming a liberated slut was one of them.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And that's the other problem, you know?
Mm.
Like when you think about matriarchy, it's not the opposite of patriarchy. Like there's no place for a capitalist system in matriarchy, you know. So the whole bloody thing has to be taken down, because capitalism doesn't exist in matriarchy. And that's another thing we need to teach everybody. You know what I mean? It's like it's just not about that. And I guess we live in a capitalist world, so there's a lot of work to be done in terms of returning to matriarchy now, which is the Peace Summit. But it's something that we need to kind of model, like you're modeling down on the beach with the kids on country, you know. And that's all about like regeneration and love and community and balance. And I'm sure it's like run on some kind of gifting economy. Is it like, how does it work? How does everybody make it happen?
Well, we have support from the returning, which is it's a women-led, Aboriginal women-led, Indigenous women-led, or non-for-profit organization. And then also through the Murwillumbah Community Centre, it's community run. You know, none of us are making huge amounts of money from it, but it's a beautiful thing it's priceless, really. And yeah, hey, listen, I actually probably need to leave this space, because
well, we're just about to close up now anyway. It was a beautiful conversation and very important. If you have to go, that's no problem at all. Thank you for finding a way, and maybe just, you know, give us your closing wish.
I feel like our conversation only just begun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we're speaking for the past, the present, and the future. And there's no time really. So let's keep that conversation happening. Oh my God, she's so beautiful.
I
I
know. I can't
know.
go with the baby.
Can't even.
So cute. Thank you for joining us, little one. And thank you for joining us, Abby and Eve. I know it was difficult to
Oh,
find a
thank
way
you.
to come
Yeah.
together and
We
to
got
share.
here.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
also too, everyone's doing the best they can. And I think the more we stay informed, the more we stay connected, the more we have these conversations,
Yeah.
the we'll heal together. It's not about bashing anyone and tearing anyone apart. It's about learning. It's about
Yeah.
education. And the more we stay in tune with that education, the more we all become free. And that's the most important thing. That's what we want.
Yes, Queen.
Here.
Yeah.
It's yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And yeah, truth telling, stay simple, stay connected to the mother, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, and I love what you said at the beginning about listening to the earth so that she can speak through you. And that's so important, Like when we
Mm.
connect to the earth and we get real with each other, we can heal with each other. And when we're speaking
Mm.
forward by listening to the inner whispers that, and leading
Mhm.
from that place. So we all need to get back to the earth and listen for what she's saying. All right, beautiful girls. Thank you so much, everybody
Good
who's
night.
watching on live or on the replay. You'll find the links to both Abby and Eve. Reach out, connect. They do incredible work in the world, and stay connected to the Rebel Ma Collective because we will be back with more of this chat. Thank you. Gurmila Mahagod, Suksama in Indonesian. Thank you.
Good night. Bye.